Time is currently 10:56 p.m. and so far the past couple of days have been pretty good. I've been able to complete all the things I wanted to do on the habit tracker, but today has not been very productive. I've only been able to do one thing, which is working out. I just finished that a couple of minutes ago, a jump rope workout. And in an attempt to finish all of this before I go to bed, currently making a video, which is what I'm doing now, and then I need to write and read. So I decided I'll make a video about how I manage my time in university. Right, I have my notes on here. How I managed a full-time job and a business while in university. Right, at every point throughout my university experience, I feel like I always had something going on. Right, for myself, in my 100 level, 200 level, every single time throughout my whole university experience, it was either I was starting a business or I was learning a skill, or in my final year, I had a full-time job. It wasn't technically a full-time job. It was a part-time job, technically. But in terms of the amount of effort and energy I put into it, it was basically a full-time job. And that's currently the job that I'm working right now. So I have a couple of things written out here. And I'm going to be approaching this from my perspective and the things that I personally did. Right, there's a lot of videos out there that you could go and watch in terms of the technicalities of a routine, how to properly manage like studies and work and all of that. I'm not going to get into that. I just want to talk about my own experience and hopefully like some of it helps. One of the things that really helps for me is having friends that are good with their academics. That is one thing that really helped, and that's the only reason I was able to graduate, because for me personally, academics wasn't the highest priority for me. I just wanted to do the bare minimum to get out of school. Now, I'm not advising this, and I probably shouldn't have started with this point first. But first of all, there's a whole argument or a whole discussion, right, that we can go into about if it's possible to do very well academically and have other things on the side. And I think it is 100% possible. I know people that did this, that graduated with the first class and then had other things that were going on really well for them also. So yes, I do think that is very possible, but that is not what I personally did. That is not what I was prioritizing. I didn't prioritize like my academics that much. I still did decently well. I graduated with like a 2.1. I think my CGPA was like a 4.0 something or a 4.1 something, but for me, it just wasn't the highest priority. I'm not saying it shouldn't be, obviously, I'm just talking about my own experience. It wasn't the highest priority. So something that really helped, because obviously I needed to graduate, right, is having friends that are good with their academics so that I don't fall behind on like tests, I don't fall behind on homework, all of that. Sounds like using people, but like that's really not what it is. I mean, like genuine friends. Like I have friends, but they just happen to be good with the academics, and it really helped a lot. So when I have an assignment or a test or any project or anything that I needed to do, I was always up to date, because frankly, I didn't attend many of my classes, right? But having people that were always on top of things really helps, because I just go to their room when I come back in the evenings. I'm like, oh, what's up? Do we have any updates for today? Oh, it's like, we have this assignment, we have this test, all of that. So having friends that were good or that are good with the academics, I think really helped me a lot. Another thing that really helped me is basically understanding that I'm playing a different game and I'll need to make sacrifices. Now, this one is somewhat obvious, but very interesting also, because especially in my final year, that was when things started to work out for me, and I decided to like fully, properly lock in. I got an office in school also. So my final year was really, pivotal in everything that has basically happened, right? But understanding that I'm playing a different game and I'll need to make sacrifices. I remember times when I'll get back to the hostel around 7:30, 8 p.m., right? And by the time I'm getting back to the hostel, I'm still in my corporate shirts, my corporate trousers, my corporate shoes, carrying my laptop bag and everything. And everybody is done for the day. Everybody has been chilling for a while. Everybody is like watching movies, eating, just chilling, right? But I think consciously I had to remind myself also, what game I'm playing, the fact that I'm doing this differently for a particular reason. This is what I want, and I would have to make sacrifices for that. And I'll come to a couple more sacrifices later, but one of them was just time in general, like spending a lot of time, right, doing the things that I want. Obviously, if I'm going to have a job or if I'm going to be trying to build a business or whatever it is, I need to understand that like I can't do what everybody else is doing, because I have to do the school part of things, and then I also now have to do the other thing that I'm doing. Another thing that helped in line with time, right, is being ruthless with where and whom I spent my time with. Maybe ruthless isn't the best word here, but being very conscious, right? I think there were a lot of events that happened in school, and I don't know, when I see people that go for all the events that happen in school, I'm just wondering, like, what are you doing, bro? There were a lot of events that obviously I had to skip. I think I only went for a couple, and the ones that I went for were things that I felt like could benefit me in some way, like TEDx. There was one other one, Street to Forbes thing that this guy came to our school. Anyways, there were a couple of events that I did go for, but frankly, for the most part, I wasn't going for many events, right? Another thing that I think I did when it comes to being ruthless with my time is paying for stuff, right? But this one is kind of, I don't know if it's very applicable because I was in a financial spot where I was able to afford some of these things. So like laundry, for example, I wasn't washing my clothes. I was paying for laundry for everything. Yes, every single thing. Singlets, boxers, shirts, trousers, every single thing, right? And like I said, it's because I was financially able to. So that's a caveat there. But another thing is like getting food. I personally hated like waiting in lines in the cafeteria one, right? But the second cafeteria wasn't that bad. But the cafeteria one, when I was in the hostel, usually I would just pay somebody, right, to go like, oh, how far have you gotten food? I'd pay for their food and then pay for my food just because I didn't want to go out. So that was another thing I did. I don't advise that. It's probably a waste of money, to be fair. But in terms of like being ruthless with what I'm doing with my time, that was another thing. Then in terms of time also, this one is a bit controversial, but selectiveness with classes. I'm not advising this, but I'm just saying what I did, right? Being selective with the classes that I attended. I think that I always used to get very pissed off by many classes, by a couple of classes. There's so many classes where you get there and then the lecturer is just reciting what is on the board and is on the PowerPoint, right, that they've sent to us already. And frankly, I'm not about to spend the next 2 hours sitting down and listening to, a PowerPoint that has been created a while ago that I can skim through in like 30 minutes, sit down for like 2 hours and listen to you talk about, like, I'm just not going to do that. So another thing I was very selective with the classes that I attended. Now, obviously, my attendance like took a hit because of this, and I'm not advising anything. I'm just saying the things that I personally did. I probably shouldn't be saying this in the first place, to be fair, but being very selective. There were days where I wouldn't even go to any classes, if I'm being very honest, right? But for me, it was a matter of basically knowing what I was doing, right? Knowing what I was trying to optimize for. And frankly, especially in my final year, I was just trying to optimize for being able to transition properly from my university to the outside world. And I figured that I already had a good understanding that, first of all, my own certificate was not what I was going to use, because I studied computer science and I'm not doing anything related to computer science now. I knew that I wasn't going to do anything related to computer science. So that was why I was able to make some of those decisions, right? So if you're planning to do exactly what you're studying in school, I don't think that's a good idea. You probably shouldn't listen to me. Like I said, I'm just saying my experience. I'm not advising anything. But being very, selective. I was very selective with classes, and there were repercussions to that. Like my attendance took a hit. There was a time I carried over a course in like 200 level because of my attendance. My parents don't know this, but I probably shouldn't be saying this. They're going to watch this video and ask me questions, but I carried over a course once because of my attendance. I couldn't write the exam. But there were a couple of things that have happened because of these repercussions, like I said. But being selective with where and what I'm spending my time on is another thing. So another point I have here is finding ways to get my energy back after classes. There's this thing that happens when you attend a long day of classes. At least it happened to me. I know it happened to a couple of people, or many people, to be fair, that were attending classes together. You'd have a long day of classes. If you sit down and like you have 6 hours of lectures back to back, like 2 hours, 3 classes, 2 hours each, and you have 6 hours, there's this tendency to think that once you're done with the classes, because first of all, you're going to be very tired. You're going to have listened to somebody ranting and teaching, and I'm trying not to throw any shade here, but most likely by the end of the 6 hours, you would feel very tired. And there's this tendency to think that you've had a productive day, right, at the end of that day. But if you think about it logically, like, you technically haven't had a productive day. You just sat down and listened to, lectures for 6 hours. And usually what would happen is you feel very tired. You go back, get a meal, and then the rest of the day is usually a waste, because frankly you spent a good amount of energy just sitting and listening to it. But in terms of productivity, hasn't actually been that productive because you basically haven't done anything. So one of the things I always try to do was divide my days into two, like the lectures part of the days when I did attend lectures, and then I know that I need to do extra work after. But then because my energy has been drained a lot by listening to and sitting down for a very long time, sitting down for 6 hours is not easy, right? Because my energy has been drained, I usually try to find things that would help me to regain my energy back before I transition to the second part of my day where I actually have to get work done. And obviously, for each person, there's probably going to be different things. But for me, it was a meal and a nap. As simple as it is, it worked very effectively for me. Once I'm done with my day, done with classes for the day, especially if it was a long day where I have like 8 to maybe 3 p.m. or 2 p.m. or 4 p.m., whatever it is. Usually, any class I had after 3, I wasn't attending. My day ended by 3 p.m. My work class days ended by 3 p.m. So once I was done with classes from like 8 to 2 p.m., I'd find something, go to the office, get a meal, get something nice to eat, and then I would take a nap for like 30 minutes. For you, I don't know what it could be. It could be something else. If you're more extroverted, maybe finding people to talk to, maybe, I don't know, whatever it is you want to do. But for me, it was a very good way to get my energy back. And then once I'm done with my nap, wake up like a 30-45 minutes nap, I'm able to now, I have more energy, and I'm able to use the second part of my day effectively, such that from like 4 p.m. up until like 7:30, 7 p.m., right, I can have a productive, work day. So that was another thing that helped. And then finally, another thing that helped also was in terms of making friends with people. First of all, like, you need to have friends that are good with your academics, because I found it very, very essential. Another thing is having friends that have things going on for themselves too, because I think it is easy to see other people not doing the same things that you're doing, or not making the same sacrifices you're making, and start to rethink the whole thing. Like, why am I even doing this? There are many times where I just want to, once I'm done with classes, just go back with everybody straight to the hall and just use the rest of my day to chill, to watch movies, to get food to eat, and just like waste the rest of my day. But I think having friends that have things going on for themselves too really helps a lot, because you are reminded that like you're not the only one doing this, and then you have other people that you guys are making the same sacrifice together, right, to use the rest of your day properly and then be productive, with the rest of your day. So that was something that really helps. So many times, like I said, immediately after class is done, everybody is literally like swarming back to the hostel, and I'm taking a different turn to the office to try to get work done. And it's like, it's not the easiest decision to make, and like I said, it is a sacrifice, right? But having friends that also have things going on for themselves really, really helps. And I think to like sum all of this up, I don't know how helpful this has been, to be fair, but summing all of this up, I think it was something that if I was to redo my whole university experience, I would have probably done the same things. Every single thing that I mentioned here, I would have done the exact same things. I wouldn't have done it a different way. And like I said, like, I was in a unique spot because I could afford to do some things financially, like the laundry thing, paying other people for, right, financially. And then another thing is, I knew that I wasn't going to use my degree. I wasn't going to use my certificate. So that is a very important caveat to mention. I knew I wasn't going to use it. So I was able to do some of these things, right? So obviously you want to listen to everything I'm saying with a grain of salt. Please do not do exactly what I'm saying, in this video. But frankly, I think that I'm glad I made a lot of those sacrifices, and I was able to have a decently smooth transition from school, my final year, to the real world and to work right now. I'm currently here in Lagos. You've probably seen a couple of my videos, like living alone, and I have work. I have other things going on for myself, and I'm living like a decent life, right? Which is usually the dream for most people that are in university, to have a good transition, earn a decent amount of money to be able to live, handle all your bills, all of that, and basically transition properly. And I feel like these sacrifices that I made in university paid off, and by God's grace, I'm now living a decent life, and not anything crazy, but at least a decent life, and I'm able to properly think of what I want to do next and what the next step is going to look like. Anyways, that's it for this video. I'm going to go and tick off creating from my list right now, and I need to go and read and write. I don't know what I'm going to write about. Probably just journal this evening, and then also read a book. I'm currently reading Peak. It's a book about like how people develop expertise in different things. It's a pretty interesting book actually, but I don't know how applicable it is, because I'm trying to figure out like what exactly I want to develop expertise in. Because I tried to figure that like if I'm going to read the book, I might as well like use something practically to apply the principles from the book. But I can't figure out anything I want to develop expertise in. Still in this phase of my life where I'm trying to figure things out. I was thinking about writing, but I'm not sure if that is something I really want to, become an expert at. I was thinking about speaking also. Still trying to figure that out, but I'll keep you updated. I'll let you know. Like I said, I'm going to tick this off, and I'm talking too much now. I'll see you in my next video. Peace.